Hey, good afternoon, everybody. How are you? This is Freddie Ewan, three-time GM of the Year, 2024 Pan Am Cup champion, 2025 regular season champion, 2026 Pan Am Cup runner-up. I hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend so far, creeping and getting closer to the football season. Super excited. We are in I think this is our fourth show. Last show we had the genius Mike Dang on here talking about some fantasy football. We went over some player types, but more importantly, we were talking about no limit fantasy football, the league, the prototype league that we were in, and the league that we have created for this year. I think at this point, I think we have eight GMs. We have out of those eight definite GMs, I think we have two that are very, very interested. Um, and two more spots open. So filling up really quickly. If you are interested, go ahead and shoot me a comment on this. You can check out all the information on the league's website as well to find out more. This is going to be a great league. It's filled with some fantasy football experts, former NFL football players. James Ahedebo, 9-year NFL veteran, Super Bowl champion, is going to be playing No Limit Fantasy Football with us. So really putting together the ultimate fantasy football league. It's going to be exciting. And once again, when people look at the concept of this, it takes a little while. There's a lot of information. It's like, wow, this might be too much for me. Trust me, it is very, very, very easy to play, and it will change the way you look at fantasy football. Once again, we had a prototype league for 2 years, and found all the sporks, everything that was missing from it, put it all together in one. This is what I'm going to show you today. I'm actually going to be fair because I'm going to show you all the things that were wrong with this previous league, this prototype league that we corrected. And in my next show, I'm going to show you the things that were correct that we got right. Most of them were ideas consisting of either me or Mike Dang's ideas, which were in the league. But for the most part, I'm going to show you what this league got wrong, how we fixed it. Just got to share my screen with everybody here. And here we go. Here we go. A new logo, Breaking the Fish Tank, the fantasy football show with Freddie Ewan. And 2 years, multiple prototypes. We had one mission, and the one mission was to create the ultimate fantasy football league, which we are breaking out this year. The biggest issue, number one, was broken balance. Really, auction style league, deep pockets beat knowledge. People who spent a boatload were going to finish in the top of the league almost regardless. There were a couple that slipped in here and there, but the people who spent on the top were going to get the most money in far as points, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, leaving lower spenders no opportunity to make any money in the league. Where basically they were just paying for their buy-in. Maybe there was no minimum buy-in, paying for that buy-in and just giving it to the big spenders. No matter how. If you look at a couple videos from last year, I did this with ChatGPT, put skill level in, spend level, and you could see that the spend level farly outdid the skill. GM simply outspended. There was really zero strategy to it. What we've done with that is we've done dynamic scoring. We've taken some of the luxury tax and we put it into a bracket where lower spending teams are going to have a chance to get some of that luxury tax back. We have different playoff bonuses. Like I said, I there was 8 teams in the playoffs in this league. I made the playoffs both years I was in the league. I think I was out of the first round, did not make any money in the playoffs. So that's different. If you get in the playoffs, you get a playoff bonus. Really broken balance in this league as far as the payouts were concerned. Second, low stakes. This disparity. I think the first year, some of this is on me because I was dealing with a tragedy at the time when we first started to get this league together, and I could have recruited much better. The only guy that I really recruited was Dang. But low stakes. There was no minimum buy-in for this fantasy football league. The first year, there was a no-show on draft day, which was auto-drafted. So I think there was one team that had like 14 or $1,500 spent, and the one of the teams had $62 spent. I didn't spend that much. I spent like I think I spent like $180 the first year or something. I ended up making money back from that getting into the playoffs, but I was like the second or third lowest spend. Um, and really with no minimum buy-in, no real auto draft to fill that in. So it was just kind of a mess from the beginning. What we have now, it's a mandatory minimum buy-in. The mandatory spend in this league is going to be $400. No max, but you are going to have a minimum, just like, no limit hold'em. When you go to a 2-5 table, you have to buy in for a minimum. 5-10 table, you have to buy in for a minimum. 1-2, in those tables, sometimes you have to buy in for a max, but there's also, if you go to Vegas and play in other games, like last 5-10 Vegas games will have a minimum and no max, which is kind of like this. So the stakes are different in this one. Keeper confusion. So the big problem is we didn't really discuss keepers beforehand. The commissioner just decided that they were going to have commissioner keepers, and it was confusing because most of the beginning players didn't know exactly what a keeper was or how to keep a keeper. That one guy didn't keep any keepers and then went out and paid more in the draft for guys that he could have kept. It just another guy kept like $700 worth of keepers where he wasn't applying any value to it. Just really made no sense in the keeper confusion. This is going to be a 100% redraft league. Most of the experts, when they announced that there were going to be keepers, thought it was a weird idea that it was going to be put in place. And obviously, it's made a lot of sense. From what I hear from that league, is they're having a little keeper problem as well right now. But this is a 100% redraft league. In the future, it might be discussed, but I think for No Limit Fantasy Football, um, it's going to be a 100% redraft league every year, which is probably gives everyone an equal footing to start the year, because I know that, guys, the experts are taking advantage of this. Dang was one of the guys last year, took advantage of the keeper situation. He was able to keep players for value where he found keepers for value, which is why you keep keepers in the first place. In most leagues, people keep keepers. In an auction league, it's usually a couple bucks more than what their price was last year. In a snake draft league, you give up the draft pick. If you got someone in round 8, you won't get a round 8 pick. These guys really, like I said, really didn't understand the entire concept of keepers. I think they're still trying to figure it out. But the whole point is you draft for value. If you're keeping, you keep for value. And a lot of these guys didn't even do that. So 100% redraft league, no weekly oversight. So there was really no one watching this league week to week. There was to see if there were any players missing, to see if teams were putting in a full roster. Obviously, we're doing this on Fantrax. From what I heard, is I've never played on Fantrax before, but it's one of the best. It's one of the best. It's one of the best fantasy football apps. It's completely you can it's completely commissioner controlled. I'm not sure if there's any AI in it to substitute your lineup, but at the same time, we're going to have people that are looking at lineups every week, all the way up to kickoff, to make sure that people are having a full lineup. So it's fair for everyone. So a team isn't playing a non-full lineup. Very easy. Um, Broken luxury tax. Obviously, I've talked about this a lot. In this league, if you went over a certain amount, there was a luxury tax where you had to pay more money. If you were paying $1, you might have had to pay an extra dollar, an extra 50 cents for every dollar that you paid. That luxury tax, simply what it did is it just went into the total pot. So the top teams would be spending money and paying for more luxury tax, but at the same time, once again, this was all based on spend. This league was all based on spend. So luxury tax really didn't even matter. You're just buying. You're just putting money in the pot, which you're going to have a bigger chance to get the more you spend. Simple as that. The fix, we put in a tiered luxury tax system for this. And we split it up really good. It was really smart how we split it up. The first tier tax is going to go to the main prize pool. Part of the second tier tax for the teams that really get in and really spend big is going to go to the losers bracket, much like a luxury tax is. If you look up Major League Baseball, if you look up the NBA salary cap and how that works, Major League Baseball does not have a salary cap. They have a luxury tax. The luxury tax, what that does is it goes to help lower dispersed teams. we're not just going to give luxury tax to, GMs who join the league, but they're going to have a chance to win that luxury tax where the GMs who spent that luxury tax aren't. Makes perfect sense. Did not make sense going through this, and it was really hard to explain to some of these guys as well. The broken luxury tax system we have fixed. Super excited for that and seeing how that's going to be. Boring payouts. I mean, this was boring payouts. One of the things that I came up with was wanted to give an opportunity for everybody to get some kind of money back. And 25% of the league, 25% went to weekly bonuses. Top three teams that had top points got a weekly bonus. It was squared out evenly, and then the rest 75% went to the top three payouts. Of course, the highest spending teams ended up getting top payouts. The lowest spending teams, even the lower spending teams, could not even get themselves a top points. I was able to get some top points in both years, just because I put together a good team for the price that I had. But as you could see in this league before, most of the top teams were collecting the bonus money. What we've done this year is we've split this up. The payouts very different. Um, there's going to be weekly bonuses, but those are going to be tiered as well. First, second, and third is going to get 50, 30, 20. Same thing with there's going to be 7 teams in the playoff. Top three teams are going to get paid a large portion of the prize pool. There's also going to be a loser's bracket where some of the luxury tax is going to go to. The 12th place finisher does not make the playoffs. They're going to have to put up $100, which is the Sacco fine as well. So the teams that do not make the playoffs, the lower spending teams, if you spend low and you do not make the playoffs, you're going to have a chance to win some money with the luxury tax. And that was really how we wanted to all figure out. We didn't want to give out trophies to everyone or have everyone play, but also we want to put some kind of skill. Obviously, if you have a $500 team and you're a skilled GM that knows what they're doing, and you're in a league with a guy who spends, $2,000, $3,000, but has no idea what they're doing, it didn't matter. It just did not matter because that guy had, if he had one of his players hurt or one of his studs that didn't do anything, he just had another guy on the bench who was just as good. The top, I mean, one guy had, two of the top three quarterbacks, I think, and only played one. So really makes a lot of sense to get these payouts a little bit more, have every team, regardless of spend, have an opportunity to win. The big spenders are going to have an opportunity to win more money. The little spenders are going to have an opportunity to win money as long as they are quality GMs. Um, there was no trash talk culture, just no trash talk culture whatsoever. You had to be careful. There was a lot of political talk in the text. There was a lot of political names. That I don't even know how to get into this, but I told this guy if his team beat my team, I was going to buy him a 96-inch cheesesteak, and the guy literally took it literally. He told me I wasn't paying bets for a 96-pound cheesesteak, and it's just absurd that the guy actually believed that I was going to buy him a cheesesteak. He was texting me his address at one point, wanting me to send him a 96-inch cheesesteak, and it's like that was a joke, dude. That was a joke. After doing a little more research on this guy, I found like an old social media page, and he's got like pictures of he's got a lot of pictures of food all over his social media and whatnot. So it helped me just understand a little bit where he was coming from. But um, no 96-inch cheesesteaks. I don't know where to get one, and if you want to bet me a 96 cheesesteak, you got to put something up too. I'm not just giving things out. But yeah, besides that, the trash talk was just like, people would get offended at certain things would be able to fly, no problem. Certain things you would have to offer, someone would want you to apologize for. One guy was, something, some kind of political thing. He's going on some kind of big political rant and posting all these political things up. I think there was like 4 or 5 teams named after politicians or some kind of political movement. Like I said, I don't really get into too much into politics. I play fantasy football. I don't know why you circulate or circumvent that too. It never really made sense to me. But really, there was a lot of dead air, no nonsense, and like I said, there's probably leagues where it could be an all political league and you can talk about whatever, but that's not really the league that we're looking for. We don't care. Don't name your team after whoever, any politicians. Name your team after whatever you want. On the chat group, talk as much trash as you want. Keep it fantasy football related, man. keep it fantasy football related. It's really that easy. Issue number 8, trade chaos. You could not dispute any trades. I think the commissioner in this league the first 2 years approved all the trades. If he made a trade, there was no one to approve his trade. There was really no transparency on these trades. It lacked a little bit of league integrity. What we do in almost every league is if there's an issue with the trade, if someone has an issue, they can let you know. In this league on this site, you don't even have to let yourself know who you are. If you have an issue with the trade, you can just click a button saying I have an issue with the trade. It goes to a vote. The GMs get to vote. In every league that I've ever been the commissioner in, it is the GM's league. The GMs make the rules. The GMs vote. The commissioner's job is not to it. The commissioner's job is just to circumcise it, circumvent it, make everything flow easy enough. I think I just said circumcise, but absolute trade chaos in this. There weren't a lot of trades to begin with, just because once again the inexperienced GMs didn't understand really how to trade or what to trade, and there was really just no approval or no issue, or you couldn't bring anything up. If a trade was a trade, it was done. So there was some trade chaos. Inexperienced GMs, this was the biggest number one issue with this prototype league. By far, a lot of it, once again, is on me. Did not work hard enough in the beginning of those years to get better GMs. I have done it this year. I've got some great GMs that are playing in this league, but the inexperience of these GMs, I think there was one guy who never played fantasy football before. No Limit Football League is probably not the first league you want to play if you have never played fantasy football. Another guy, in the middle of the auction draft, the first year, he said, wow, this is cool. This is my first time ever doing an auction draft. And, I was almost shocked that he said that, like this might not be the league for you, man. So it was very, 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 like a lot of green when it came to it. There's nothing wrong with green. There's nothing wrong with people that want to play fantasy football. The more, the merrier. If someone's interested in fantasy football, I have some great leagues for you. Some wonderful leagues. Cost you $100, $200. You can do it anyway. You can learn how to do an auction draft, but No Limit Fantasy Football, if you're not an experienced GM, it is probably not the first league you want to be in. Probably not. So there are no beginners in this league that were coming in. Everybody is a veteran fantasy manager. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everyone's done an auction draft before. Everyone knows how to trade. Nobody's drafting a quarterback in the first round. Nobody's probably drafting a quarterback in their first 4 rounds. There's probably Josh Allen and everyone else this year. Same thing in this league is you saw guys spending the most money was spent the most on quarterbacks. I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson went for $400, $500 each in this one quarterback league, and just shocking almost. If I had $400, $500, I think that was my total budget. And if I had $400, $500, I'd have 2 running backs or 2 wide receivers, or, quarterback would be the guy that I would stream off the wire, because it's like, look, Matthew Stafford last year, you could have picked up on waivers in most leagues, and he will won you the league. Drake May too, not so much this year, but you could have got Drake May late in the rounds. Same thing's gonna happen this year. You're gonna find a quarterback that's gonna go $2 or something, and is going to be the stud. And that's the other thing is if it's a one quarterback league, you can always get a quarterback off the waiver wire. You do not need Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen to win a fantasy league, and you certainly should not be paying that much for them in a one quarterback league. Superflex is different. So this is really all the issues that were with this league. I'm going to be fair, and my next video, I'm going to come out with all the good things that were done in this league. But there's the guy with the cheesesteak too. I got a nice picture of him with his fantasy football show. So if you want his 96-inch cheesesteak, it's right there. Anyway, broken balance. Low stakes, keeper confusion, no weekly oversight, broken luxury tax, boring payouts, no trash talk culture, inexperienced GMs, and trade chaos. We have fixed it 100% to bring you No Limit Fantasy Football. That league turned into a league that is now on life support. Engagements have dropped. Managers have ghosted. There is no more energy. This is coming at you now. No Limit Fantasy Football. The experts are here to put it on. The Ultimate No Limit Fantasy Football League. Once again, we got 8 confirmed. We got 2 probably, and we're looking for 2 more spots. Once again, send me a message, send a comment, and look at the sheet. It's a huge sheet with all the information. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me or Mike Dang, and we'll get ready to rock and roll, baby. Have a great weekend. No Limit Fantasy Football is coming to your door. Bam! Cheesesteak. Say it like you're pissed.